Hey guys, apologies. I'm still trying to work out all the lighting here in my office, and I just can't get rid of this glare and this infinite loop from me to the computer that's in front of me. I don't know. I could probably dim this, but then I don't know. I'm obviously not that tech savvy. So I wanted to just talk about your exam that we're going to have, and to give you kind of what it's going to be like and all those wonderful things, right? So it's going to be very similar to our previous exam, right, as to what the structure will be. Okay, so this is our second exam, right? Structure is going to be very similar. Okay, there is going to be true and false. All right, similar kind of thing. Please write the word true or false. Do not put T or F. Please write out the word true. Please write out the word false, whichever you think that it is. Okay. And again, if the whole statement is true, make it true. If part of the statement is true with some of it's false, then it's false, right? It's got to be completely true within reason, right? Then there will be, again, of course, a matching section. Okay. Similar thing. I'll have terms on one side, I'll have definitions and examples on the other. It's a one-to-one matching. Match them up. And be careful, right? Because one wrong match all of a sudden can lead to a lot of issues, right? So do your best, but that's how, one-to-one matching, take your time with it, okay? Then there's going to be a demand-supply section, okay? What is this about? What am I talking about? I'm going to give you a good or service, right? Let's say something like coffee, right? And I'm going to give you a couple different scenarios, a couple different examples, right, of things that are happening that could affect the coffee market. And it would be up to you to decipher, does this affect demand? Does this affect supply? If so, what happens to the equilibrium price? What happens to the equilibrium quantity of that good or service, right? So just as an example, right? Let's say I tell you, I don't know, the price of tea rises, right? Where these two, where coffee and tea are substitutes. Right. Obviously, it's going to be written a bit more elegantly than that. But the idea is that, okay, we're saying coffee and tea are substitutes. The price of tea rises. Well, first off, because it's substitutes, right, we're referring to here demand, right? This is a demand side problem, okay? This is a demand side problem. The next thing is, how does the price of tea affect the price, the demand of coffee? Well, if there's substitutes, that means consumers want to buy either one or the other, depending on the price. Well, if we're saying that the relative price of tea goes up, that means that tea is becoming more expensive. People prefer to buy a cheaper good, so they're going to go to a substitute. So people buy less tea, and the demand for coffee goes up, right? The demand for coffee now is increased. And we know that when the demand for coffee goes up, that means that the equilibrium price will rise and the equilibrium quantity of the good or service will rise. Here's one point, here's another point, okay? So you get a point for each of those, okay? So even if you screw up and you say one goes down, at least you get half credit, right? And you'll see a few of those, right? And I'll give you the good or service, and it will be, the instructions will be well played out. You have to tell me what happens to the equilibrium price and quantity, depending on some of those examples, okay? So that would be the demand supply section there, all right? Another section, of course, people love it, people hate it, is multiple choice. All right, we're going to have a nice multiple choice section. As always, pick the best answer. There's only one answer. You know the drill, okay? And then finally, there will be a demand-supply problem, okay? I'm going to be asking you to calculate equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, consumer surplus, producer surplus, social surplus, right? Everything that we've done up until this point, right? And that'll be the structure of the exam, okay? So we've got true and false, we have matching, we have this demand supply section, some multiple choice, and again, generally a small problem, right? Calculating equilibrium price, equilibrium quantity, consumer surplus, producer surplus, and social surplus. If you can do those things like in the last video and what we've done in class, you're set. You'll be good, okay? Now, all that being said, what the heck is going to be on this exam? Because last time I saw you guys was before spring break, right? And we were talking about a bunch of stuff, right? So, what's going to be on the exam? Okay. So, what's going to be on the exam? We are going to have, basically it's all demand supply, right? Because we stopped our last exam right before demand supply, and everything we've done from demand supply from the beginning, right? So you should know, demand side of the market, right? Know those three assumptions that we talked about before. Everything in the everything in the basically the universe is being held constant except for the price and quantity of that good or service. Consumers know everything about their own value. They have perfect understanding of their own value for the good or service, and producers have a perfect understanding of their good or service's value in the market, right? So understand those three assumptions. Actually, before we do this, right? Know those three assumptions that we talked about. Know the demand side, right? So know law of demand. Okay. Know the supply side. Know the law of supply. Okay. I would definitely know those. Know the whole idea of equilibrium. Right? Understand, not only how to calculate it, but understand what it is, what it means. Okay? Understand the concept of the equilibrium, single market clearing price, quantity, supply, quantity, demand is equal. What does that even mean, right? Okay? That if you are willing and able to pay that price, you are going to get that much of the good or service that you desire. If you're able and willing to sell at that price, you are going to sell your desired amount. Someone or some group of people will be able to buy it. The sun's coming in right on my face right here. All right, so understand the concept of the equilibrium and how to calculate it, right? That's very, very big. Then we talked about shifts in demand and supply, right? Know what happens when the demand curve shifts. Know what happens when the supply curve shifts, okay? What I like to do, what makes sense for me, is remember this, write this down, okay? That when demand increases, the equilibrium price rises, equilibrium quantity rises. Demand curve decreases, equilibrium price falls, equilibrium quantity falls. If the supply curve rises, equilibrium price falls, equilibrium quantity rises, supply decreases, equilibrium price rises, equilibrium quantity falls, right? This will help you out. Make sure you copy this down, make sure you copy it down correctly, and this will help you throughout the exam, okay? So understand that and understand what shifts them, okay? What are the causes? For demand we talked about price of related goods and services, substitute goods and complement goods. Talked about the number of consumers. Talked about income, whether it's a normal good, luxury good, inferior good. We talked about preferences, right? People just prefer it more. They want to buy more. What is the other one? Income. Oh, expectations, right? What do you think is going to happen in the future? Then we talked about supply, right? What are the things that shift the supply curve? We said most of them have to do with the cost of production, right? The cost of inputs, right? Of productive resources. The number of producers. Technology, the government, right? How does the government taxation and subsidies affect the cost of distribution and production, right? So know not only the shifts, but what causes them to shift. Then we went further, right? and we said, well, let's talk about some different characteristics of the demand-supply curve. And we got into this really, really cool stuff of the price elasticity of demand, right? And it had to do with the slope of the demand and the supply curve, okay? Understand what the price elasticity of demand is, understand how to calculate it, understand what that means for its relations with substitutes, right? And actually, yeah, with substitutes, right? If something is relatively inelastic, that means it's got few to no substitutes like gasoline, nicotine, alcohol, right? If you need those things, right? If you need insulin and you're a diabetic, there's very few substitutes, if any, right? And then we also have elastic, where there's a lot of substitutes, right? And how that affects it. So remember, again, when we talk about elasticity, remember inelastic, insensitive, right? People are price insensitive. There's a huge spike in the price, small reaction by consumers. Inelastic. Elastic, consumers are price sensitive, right? Small little change in the price, huge reaction, right? Okay. I remember once someone told me that's like inelastic is like a boxer, elastic is like a soccer player, right? You know, the idea was that a boxer gets, smashed in the face, but they have a very little reaction to it. And if you know anything about watching soccer or, football, small little slap, and all of a sudden they act like they've just been stomped on. So anyway, point is, inelastic, insensitive. Elastic, sensitive, right? And we talked about the relationship between price elasticity and this idea of total revenue, right? Okay, of total revenue, right? So, and you know what? Now that I'm doing this, let's keep the test on this. Okay, let's keep the test on this. The consumer surplus, producer surplus, and social surplus. Let's keep that for the next test, for test number 3. Right, test number 2. Let's keep with this. Okay, this is enough. So that problem that we talked about in the test, we'll say, okay, yeah, you got to calculate price equilibrium, equilibrium quantity, and also remember, you should know how to do that price elasticity of demand stuff. If I give you, sorry, the sun is now again on my face, coming through the blinds, that you should be able to calculate the price elasticity of demand, calculate the percent change in price, percent change in quantity, and be able to do it. Okay, so forget the consumer surplus, producer surplus stuff. We'll do that on the next exam, right? Focus on the price elasticity of demand. All right, so the idea is I will post up the, because we're extending it, essentially one class period, because of what the university did. We'll have our exam on Tuesday. So what'll happen is on Tuesday, let's say the time that our normal class is at 12:30, right? Second. So that's Tuesday give me a second, I gotta get my calendar. That would be, yeah, we were originally gonna have it on the 19th, so we're gonna say Tuesday, March 24th, 12:30. It's gonna be on Canvas. Okay? It'll be up, and that's when it will be available. So know that. It's just like taking a test anywhere else. Make sure that you have a good internet connection. Make sure you have the time, right, to dedicate the hour and 15 minutes, and we'll go with that. And I'll give you more than an hour and 15 minutes because you're going to have to, download it, write everything out, and then you're going to submit it on Canvas again. I'll give you 2 hours, right? You'll have from 12:30 to, let's say, 2:30 to do the exam. I would tell you not to use notes or textbooks. Hopefully not other people, because you guys hopefully are practicing social distancing, right? But look, I mean, if you're going to use it, you're going to use it. But I would suggest that even if you are going to have your notes out and things, don't rely on it completely. I would definitely still study for the exam, without a doubt. But it'll be available from 12:30 to 2:30. 2:30, my clock, right? I don't have a crazy clock here, right? But at 2:30, anything after that is late, right? You can write it on a piece of paper, and you can take a picture and upload that onto Canvas. If you want to do it in Excel, or you want to do it on Word and upload that, that's fine. But I'm giving you 2 hours, right, which is 45 minutes more than you would get in class. The test is going to be the same length, but I understand that there's technical issues here with downloading, writing, taking a picture, uploading. It's fine, okay? If you have questions, I will be available during the exam, right? You can Skype me, you can call me, and you can ask questions that way, all right? Or email me too. We can do it like that. So again, good luck, and I will see you guys when I see you.